Hello, thank you so much, Claudia and Nadine. Thank you, KODA, for organizing this studio visit, and thanks so much everyone who is joining us for your interest in learning more about my work. I am currently a artist in residence at the Sugar Hill Children's Museum in Harlem, as well as with KODA. And right now I am at the Sugar Hill Museum, where the residency includes a studio for a year, and it culminates with an exhibition. My residence here was supposed to end last summer with the show, but because of the pandemic, the museum was closed for since February. So just this past week, I was able to get back into the museum, but the museum has taken advantage of the museum closer to make repairs. So right now I am, the museum very graciously lent me a gallery to put up some of the works and be able to do this studio visit. So this is not my real studio that I'm talking from. So anyway, before I start, I just want to tell you a little bit about myself. I am US. I was born in New Jersey, and my family is Colombian, and I was raised there in Colombia. I started my art career in my mid-30s after teaching art from K to 12 for 10 years in public schools here in New York. And since then, I have created several bodies of work, and as Claudia said, I am always, my work in general has always been mixed media and very much related to nature and the body. So I prepared this presentation that gives an overview of my work. And I will, so let me see if I can do this, okay. So this is a work from, in 2003, I started working mainly in clay and using clay as a structure, using clay as a structure for the work. So I would like create holes to the work and then attach a lot of different materials after the work was fired. In the beginning, I was interested in the female body and thinking of its sexuality free of taboos. Oh. And this is, again, you can see the part in the back is in clay and using other materials. And the work quickly started to morph into hybrids of, this is like a vulva that is also a flower. And in 2007, this is a work in fabric resembling a tree that is interactive, and the audience is, a single person is invited to, one by one, people can come in and sit inside this piece, and once inside, there's this fabric interior with lights that fade in and out to the same rhythm of your breathing, kind of resembling or evoking like the body or the womb as our place of origin. This is from a series of suitcase fountains that I started in 2006. This is from 2010. And the idea was, these works I see as contained landscapes, thinking of the body also as a contained landscape. And here I did all of the ceramic that you see in the center, and the ceramic basin was all sculpted. Um, I sculpted all of this, and it's ave del peritoneo, so it's relating to the abdominal area of the human body. And I'm interested in this idea of looking at the interior of the body in a non-scientific way. So looking at it as a landscape, as something magical. And I have also been interested in sourcing materials from trash, like in this case, this suitcase I found on the street. So I am a collector of materials. This is another contained, I see this also as a contained landscape. And it's again, a hybrid of trees that might be, that is the arteries that are also trees, and using different materials that relate to the body also, and textures that relate to the body. And also creating like small worlds. I like to create different components. So here in this case, for instance, I made this top part in porcelain. This is like a sort of like a, maybe like a brain, and this is like a tree trunk that could also be part of a muscle. And I make that without knowing exactly where it's going to go. And then once I have the different once I have the different porcelain pieces done, I just use it like another material. So I put it all together with, this is acrylic sheeting, polyurethane, fabric, fiberfill, artificial plants, etc. And then I went from doing more contained pieces to doing works that reflecting on how nature is like vast and expansive, and how it can sprawl infinitely. And so this work here, this was at this is from the series, the Botanical Series, that was also started in 2000. This was started in 2010, the first ones I did, and I have created this is ongoing series, and they are site-specific. The work kind of adjusts to the area, and it's inspired by weeds and uncontrolled nature, and it's supposed to be installed in a way that it seems like the work, like the work grew out of this space. And I'm just interested in the idea of how nature has this ability, especially weeds and unwanted nature has this ability to, has this resilience and ability to reclaim space. And this is, I use different, this is a detail of the Botanical Series where I use textures that relate to the human body, and materials that that have to do with body adornment. I'm also interested in like the celebratory aspect of that I feel it's inherent in the body and in nature itself. And then as I reflected more on this work of weeds in the urban space, I started to think further of this relationship of almost like the tension between nature and the urban landscape as a body, like as a collective body. And so I started to incorporate, in this case, mosaic, to reference the home as the dwelling. And I also incorporated concrete in a series of works. This is around 2013. This is a piece that I made at a place called Materials for the Arts, also while I was in residence there. And if you're not familiar with it, it's a New York City agency that collects surplus materials from different companies, commercial places, and individuals. And they put them all in a warehouse, and they are reused for art purposes. And people, different organizations that have a free art programming can come and shop there for free. So they have an artist residency there, and it was really wonderful because I had so many materials, and many of them that I would not normally go out to buy or to source anywhere. And so I had the opportunity to use different materials like leather. This is broken jewelry. Leather I would have never thought of buying, but it kind of was interesting to make it into the work, as well as this big gilded frame. And during this time, I was really interested in decay and this cycle of life and death that happens as nature kind of breaks down structures. This is a plastic sheeting that I also sourced from Materials for the Arts. Again, it's something that I would have never dreamed of looking for it, but I found it there, and that's how the idea kind of came out. And I love this idea of creating like a soft draped wall that is being broken down by lace, which is also like I like the feminine aspect of that. Something that is that can be I don't know, can think of lace in different ways, but can be something like delicate, but that is at the same time extremely has a incredible strength. Wait, this is I then continue to use lace to mimic decay and breakdown of the surface. And this work here, I use lace in the same way, but this time cast in iron and electroplated. This was done at the Kohler factory, which was through a residency I did there in 2015 in Wisconsin. And I had to do everything there. They make you do everything yourself. There's no one doing work for you. So it was quite physical, to say the least. And then in 2016, I did a residency at a paper studio here in New York called Du Donné. And it's all handmade paper. And this residency opened a whole new way of working for me that was quite unexpected. From here, I started this series that I call the Tapestry Series, and there were, as I was thinking of the home and the breakdown of the home as a body, I went to the to the period rooms at the Met to look at the rugs, and then I came across tapestries. And so this work is inspired by these Renaissance and 15th, 16th century furnishings. And this work is all made, handmade in a wet studio and I embed all of the different materials into the paper while it's still wet, and with a water hose, and using stencils, and for instance, here on the edges, I use lace that I use as a stencil. I remove the paper pulp that is sitting on top, and it's a way of sculpting the paper while it's still wet. It's a little hard to explain. But there are some videos where that I think KODA share that that you may see later if you didn't have time to see, and that will explain, that show the process that's a little bit easier to understand. And then from there, I have had always been focused more on like nature and the body, but because of the 2016 presidential election, I felt that as a Latina, I wanted to do something related to Latino culture. And I really didn't know how to go about it, but there was this opportunity where I was asked for a proposal that had to do with Latino culture and food. So I created this new series of farm worker tapestries that focused on Latino farm workers from mainly the south of the U.S. And I did all, and I was honoring Latino farm workers and highlighting all of the different social issues that they go through as one of the most marginalized groups in the country. So in this, it's a series of 7 works, and each of these tapestries focus on a different crop. So this was the orange crop, and so I included I put the farm workers centered, but I included the plant, the fruit, and also the flowers and the pollinators as part of, and thinking of the farm worker as part of this cycle of in the field, this beautiful natural cycle. And I included here at the bottom some of the, I included quotes of different issues that are faced by the farm workers in this country. From there, I decided to, because these the tapestries were more the full figure, I wanted to expand on that series, and I created a portrait series where the giving kind of visibility, putting a face to the farm worker that it seems invisible to us, even though they are essential workers that we are so dependent on. And here I use different materials. In this case, I use, through the work, I use a lot of materials, including sequin fabrics, but also nettings. And this here at the bottom is like a weaving of different food packaging. And then last year, there is a town in Willard. This is a series called the Willard Crops Festival series, and it's based on a town in Willard, Ohio, which is an agricultural hub. And it's a huge agricultural hub, and for decades they have held a festival every year, every spring, to welcome the migrant workers that arrive to tend to the crops. But because of the anti-immigrant rhetoric of the presidential election, the festivities were canceled that year. So I don't know what happened. I imagine the migrants still came, but I wanted to do a series that this time was centered around, was centered on the plants, and thinking of the plants also as marginalized beings, just like the farm workers. And so I imagined many of these vegetables, these crops, I imagined them holding the festival to welcome the migrant workers. So I dressed them in like festive colors and textures, and so this is called Cabbages and Radishes Parade, and there are some hands around the edge that kind of reference the hands that tend to the crops, as thinking of that relationship as kind of symbiotic. And this is another one from the Willard Crops Festival series called Celery and Firecrackers. And again, is seeing this time the plant is the centerpiece here, and seeing thinking of this as a festive, thinking of the festivity with, between that relationship, that one-on-one relationship between the plant and the hands that tend to it. And I'm not saying that the farm workers are have this relationship with the plants, because I know that they are in very difficult working conditions. But I think there is that relationship there that is inherent in us that has somehow been lost. And then this year, during the lockdown, I had created these works last year, the end of 2008, at Dieudonné, but I had not been able to work on them. So during the lockdown, because these are small, this is the kinship series, part of the kinship series, and these are part of a tomato plant, and with hands, and here kind of highlighting that synergy between both human and plant, and all of these lines are made with gouache paint, and so that's done after all, what you see here, black and the orange, that's all paint pulp done in the wet studio. But there is another step that I do afterwards, and which is in this case a lot of gouache painting, and I also added these googly eyes along with this trim around the work. So this is about 12 of these pieces I have. And this is another one from the kinship, trying to like blend both human and nature. And then this is my last slide of this to be determined title. This is a quilt that I did this year here at, well, I started it last year actually, but it took 5 months to complete, and it's behind me. I can do show it to you a little bit more close up in a minute, but this work, so I went back to working with fabric, and the fabric here in the back, which is the base of the work, is a print that I did at the Joe Mitchell Art Center in New Orleans while I was a resident artist there. And while I was there, I had just finished the paperwork, a series of paper tapestries, and they didn't have paper making facilities in the area. So I was kind of starting something new, and that part it's always hard, and I was there only for a month. Anyway, so I collected all of the food wrappings from different, from the different artists, whatever snacks they ate, they would save the wrappings for me, and also from the kitchen that we had communal dinners at. And I created a weaving of all of these wrappings. And then the weaving for me was not enough to make it an artwork. I was not satisfied with it. So often what I do is I leave it to the side as another material. And I incorporated that into some of the paper pieces, but also I took a photo of it and I printed that into panels. And so that is the base of this work in the back. And when I put the two panels together, because one was mirrored, this image was revealed of some sort of animal. So this part of the face here was completely came out when the panels were put together. And so because I had been thinking a lot about indigenous culture and indigenous ways of relating to nature, I decided to go with it and bring out this image that was revealed in this work. So, okay, so here I want to, this is the space. Like I said, this is not my studio. It's one of the galleries here at the museum. And I just want to give you a quick look at what the space looks like of the works I have here. So here on my right, I have this quilt, and I'm gonna just zoom in to see some of the details. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I just want to make sure that everybody sees you in a large view.
Oh,
everybody, I mean, I can see it fine. Just you can, change to speaker view or pin Lina's video, so then you can see it large. Thank you, Lina. We can continue.
Okay, great. So this work, I think a lot about. I use quilting techniques and also a lot of layers in this work. And I hope you see some of the nettings. There's a lot of the food nettings like this that is used in wrappings. And there are some personal components, like this is a crocheted flower that my mom, my late mom, made years ago. And these are shells from different necklaces that I bought and wore at some point, and long ago actually. And that top piece with the lines is actually a belt from the Guambiano culture that was a gift of my mom also. So they're all different, I guess, layers in meaning and literal layers in this work. I'm going to. This was also a fabric from Peru that used to be a bag that I purchased when I traveled there about 15 years ago. And I just want to show, this is a piece I did in 2018, sorry, 2017, made with a turtle shell that was sourced at Materials for the Arts, actually. And it's all done with different materials, but put together with paper. So this is using a different type of technique that is used almost like paper mache. And I have this work here because to me this work kind of evokes like a mask or a spirit, and similarly to how this piece over here does. And I have, I'm gonna try to walk slowly. I have this piece also from 2018, and this was a piece that I had started. It has concrete in it, so I started this work in 2016, but I didn't finish it. And then in 2018, I wanted to complete it, and then this mola, which is a traditional work from the Kuna people of Panama and Colombia. I had this mola was actually at Materials for the Arts, and this is a beautiful type of traditional work that the indigenous Kuna women make, and they usually wear it around their waist. And this is, I had no plan of putting this type of mola into the work, but it was, I was looking, as I made this work, I looked and looked and looked and see what kind of fabric was going to go there. And then this was, once I took out the mola, was like, this is what it needed. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that many times the materials just go into, they kind of decide to go into the work in some way. They bring themselves. Just want to show a little detail of these botanical works that I have here. This is another larger piece from the Kinship series, and that was also, this is in 16 small panels that come together, and this I was able to do at home or finish it at home while I was in the lockdown. So this also has hands in it, and these are based on actually strawberry plants, and these are birds that are all that I did in the paper studio. And again, like I sometimes make things without knowing where they're going to go, and I hold on to them, and so these birds I had made, and they all made it into this work. I also used googly eyes in this work as well. So I can talk more about this work, but don't want to go over time. And this is also work on fabric. If you can see, this is a netting, a print of a food netting that I also printed at the Joe Mitchell Art Center in New Orleans. And this is printed on silk, so it's very translucent. I'm putting my hand behind. And then I layered lace behind it, different layers of it, and embroidered a design in it. And this design is based on a design by the Kamensa, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, but it's the Kamensa indigenous culture of one of the regions of Colombia, which is in the Amazon. And this design symbolizes the La Chagra, which is the vegetable garden in the Kamensa culture. And this design, this is also the same design but inverted, and I use and with different colors. And this design is they weave these designs into the different articles of their clothing, including belts. And I am wearing one of them. I'm going to show you quickly if I can. Right here. This is the design of La Chagra. I've had this belt forever, and I had no idea that this was it. This was the La Chagra. So the design is, it's worn horizontally, but here the work is vertical. And I use different shells to kind of hold together the different layers, shells and beads that were also part of necklaces that I wore at some point, necklaces that I got in, these are seeds, the red ones. The red ones are seeds that are used a lot in Colombia by all kinds of jewelry makers use this a lot. I've seen those all through my life. So I had some necklaces, and they made it into this work. And then I think I have, wow, I'm really impressed how good I've done with timing this time. And so this is, I have here the piece from the Willard Crops Festival, the Cabbages and Radishes Parade. And I'm gonna try to close up, zoom in to see some of the textures. So these were some, see, this is part of a collar that I got in Guatemala. And here I have a piece of Mexican huipil that you get at the market that I wore at some point. And there are also appliques of birds as pollinators, and these little velvety appliques of flowers. And there is here and more appliques. So I think that's it for my presentation. Thank you so much for joining in.